Welcome to Spoiler Alert Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the latest episodes in anime. You have been warned. Before we begin our discussion, let's introduce our guest. On this episode, we have Lou from LouTalksAnime. Hey, Lou.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Lou from LouTalksAnime, your mama's favorite Twitter follower. What's going on?
Hey. So Lou, tell us a little bit about what you do in the anime community.
I was, at one point, a prolific creator of anime-related content, and now I've gotten very lazy because of real-life circumstances, and I'm more of a podcaster, so you will find me more than anything on MangaPod, where I bullshit about manga with my friends. And for those of you who are interested in manga-related content, Ray and Sheena will be joining us later this year, and it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, we will. All right, so for this episode, we will be discussing Saga of Tanya the Evil, episodes 1, 2, 3, Fuuka, episodes 1 through 4, ACCA, episodes 1, 2, 3, KONOSUBA Season 2, episodes 1, 2, 3, and Interviews with Monster Girls, episodes 1, 2, and 3. So let's go ahead and jump into the Saga of Tanya the Evil. I really don't know what to think of this anime. What was your first impressions of it, Lou?
Well, here's my perspective on this show. I really didn't care for the first episode because it was more than anything the character designs for the two girl mages that were prominently featured. The main character and that kind of side character that was almost a main character, her subordinate. I didn't like those two designs, but I stuck with it because I thought, psychotic Nazi lolly magic girl wrecking shit sounds like it could be a lot of fun. So I stuck with it. And I'm glad I did because there's an interesting twist that happens in the second episode that gives you context to who she is as a character, what her ambitions and goals are. And it's really interesting to see how this change that happens from episode 2 in her character really plays out, and it continues on to the third episode, and I think it's fantastic. I legitimately enjoyed this show way more than I anticipated because, like, when I saw the trailer for it, I was underwhelmed because of the character designs, but once I got over that, and once the animation studios made full use of those character designs with those twisted little reaction faces or crazy expressions that she can have, I think I was basically sold on that show. So I loved it. What do you guys think?
It definitely wasn't until episode 2 that I was kind of hooked on it. Like, I didn't like episode 1 kind of similar to you, but I didn't like it because it's like, it just sort of throws you into the whole war and the front lines and everything like that without much of an explanation at all. And then, we get more in the second and third episodes, which really, those two were really good, actually. And it makes the first episode better, but it's one of those ones where you can't watch the first episode and make a judgment call on it at all. Because if you do that, you're not going to know for sure if you're going to like it.
But see, here's where I would argue against that. The first episode was building to that moment at the end where two of her subordinates were killed for disobeying her. So I think it was to lull you into this false sense of security of, all right, well, this is a righteous magical girl that's fighting on behalf of her country, to this bitch is crazy. And we need to observe what this crazy bitch will be doing over the course of the season.
Well, she's not just crazy, though, but she anticipated them to die, too. She knew that they were going to die, which was even more, like, psychotic of her, which is kind of interesting.
I could agree with you guys if it wasn't for the fact the show's called Saga of Tanya the Evil, and I was totally expecting that.
But she's evil. Well,
See, the thing is, my first exposure to it was before, like, before I realized what the actual licensed titling was. Mm-hmm. In other words, I saw it when it was on any charges listed as Yojo Senki.
Yeah.
And when I clicked on the video, I didn't look at the title. I'm like, all right, this art looks familiar. I'm gonna click on it. It's a new video, whatever. I didn't really pay attention to the title until after the fact, and I'm like, all right, this makes sense.
I could see it being better in that situation. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like similar to my experience with Yuki no Ayusha, which was a magical girl show that I didn't know was a magical girl show. Like, I just clicked the video, I thought, oh, a cute slice of life show, and then it just blindsided me with the fact that it's a magical girl show. It was a similar experience. Not as good as my experience with Yuki no Ayusha, but still pretty fun.
Yeah, I like the whole battle he's having with the, would you call it the being X, or, you know, and what it's trying to say is that it's God, but I love that battle and his just, I will not believe that there is a God, just firm stance on that no matter what, and how he wants to beat this being and not lose to him so badly that he's willing to do like just some stupid shit sometimes.
I like that the God is such a shitlord that for the like, no, think about it. The God is a shitlord because ultimately, like, if this little girl wants to use her power to protect herself, she needs to pray to God, even though she's actively at war with God.
Yeah,
wasn't there like a scene about that too, where I think one of the characters was like "God bless" or something like that, and she's like, yeah, bless, whatever.
Yeah, that was all in the 3rd episode, and it was fantastic. Like the whole concept of, like, she's wearing this gem and she can't get it off, and there's no release or anything, and she's the only person that can use it, and the only way she can make it work is if she says a little prayer. That's just hilarious. This being X is such a narcissist.
Yeah.
But it works with his characteristic, I guess, him, because technically he's a dude that just got reincarnated into a girl, but for the sake of it. Like, but the character itself is a guy, in my opinion. But it's so against his character to, you know, having to pray like that, and it's just so, it's pretty funny. Yeah, like how what a shitlord the God is, being X or whatever. And just messing with him because he can.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, they're both completely self-centered and focus only on their own ends, and it's kind of what makes the battle so fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And also, not just the psychological battle with being X, but also the actual fight choreography in the mage battles. I think it was really well done in terms of, like, giving a sense of movement and space and just the emotion that goes into the battlefield. So I genuinely appreciated, like, the presentation of the actual, like, conflict.
I do agree, though, that the character design, or not the character design, but the style of how they drew the girls, I agree with that. It's kind of weird at first, and for some reason it reminded me of a hentai.
What?
I'm just gonna throw that out there. For some reason, the girl, the other girl, the other mage, the other female mage, for some reason, her design reminds me of some hentai that I've probably seen in the past. Just to throw that out there.
What?
Okay, if you say so.
Let's figure that out.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, let's be real here. Like there
it really does. There's. I feel like there's something out there that I've seen that has, like, that kind of design. But, like, the really big eyes, it's like abnormally big. Like, not just, like, normal anime big eyes, but it's, like, abnormally big.
She looks like, she kind of reminded me of, like, less appealing Mako from Kill la Kill. But, like, with longer hair. That's what she kind of reminded me of.
I could see that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very interesting series. I'm going to try to keep up with it. I don't know if I can because I have so many things to watch this season, but hopefully I can. If people say it's really good, then I'm going to try to fit it in my time.
I had to get her to put this on the list because she was like, no, I don't want to watch the crazy Nazi lolly show.
Shame on you, Sheena.
Yeah, I was like, you don't want to watch a Nazi lolly show. What?
That combination in itself. But okay, yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about Fuuka episodes 1 through 4. So Lou, okay, as someone who reads the manga, what do you think of the anime? I want to know, like, your opinions of it. I don't know if you've read the manga, but
well, I have not read the manga, but I am familiar with Suzuka, which, for those who are unfamiliar, is another work that was done by the mangaka that made Fuuka. So that's the context for the viewers that were unfamiliar with Suzuka. And I remember enjoying Suzuka. It's been a few years since I've seen the show. I thought it was a fun series that had a sports element, and I like sports anime. And while the sports wasn't really the focus of it, it was more of an emphasis on like the love triangle between the characters. I still had a lot of fun with it. Fuuka does have kind of that same atmosphere in terms of the fun element. I don't think we've seen enough of it to establish whether it can compare in terms of the romantic side of what Suzuka was able to deliver.
Definitely not yet.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we're still pretty early into the series, so.
Yeah, me and Sheena both read the manga, so.
Yes, I was curious as somebody who hasn't read the manga, like what you thought of it, of the anime? Because when you read the manga and then you watch the anime, you know, for the majority of the time, you would always say that the manga was better because usually the art's a lot better in the manga, and the mangaka I love his artwork. So seeing it as an anime form, it was a little bit, I guess, dumbed down in terms of animation, and a lot of the scenes, you know, how it's a lot better how it portrays some of the scenes in the manga compared to the anime. So I'm just curious, basically. Is what I was getting at with that. But yeah, I mean, I'm liking it. I mean, again, as reading the manga, you're kind of like, oh, I know it's gonna happen, and I don't really do that a lot because I don't really read a lot of manga that gets turned into anime. So it's kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of having that like elitist kind of like thought, and I'm like, oh, stop it, Sheeta, stop.
No, I could hear where you're coming from. Like, I've been in that position where, you know, I'm familiar with the source material to something, and you know, you can't help but pick apart the flaws in the adaptation or what you perceive to be as flaws in an adaptation. I think it's, in the case of this adaptation, it does have a couple bright spots in that Fuuka looks adorable. And
yes, the voice actress is amazing for Fuuka.
And to build off that off the voice actress, the music in the show is also actually a lot better than I expected it to be.
That's what I'm actually really happy about, was being a manga about music. We're not hearing nothing ever when we're reading it. Actually being able to hear it in the show and actually having it be good has been really nice to see, in my opinion. I loved the first performance in that. It was episode 4, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. Like.
Yeah, it is nice to hear that.
That was one of those, like, some hairs like stood up on the back of my neck sort of moment, because it was like I'm finally getting to hear the music that I've read, I guess you could say.
So you guys have read the manga. I want to know how you feel about the main character, the main male lead. Like, do you see anything that particularly stands out about him? Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm not seeing a lot of personality for him, and I get that he doesn't need personality. It's not really a manga about him. It's like he's our lens to view the rest of the cast. But I wanted to see how that would translate in manga form, because I don't think I've ever read a manga that has this style of protagonist.
Without getting too into specifics here, he's another character like what we were talking about earlier with the other show that is going to grow more and will actually be better instead of just being that lens.
Yeah.
So right now he's definitely not a strong character, though. I didn't like it in the manga. I don't like it in the show. But seeing him grow makes you like it more, I guess. Like, makes it acceptable, maybe, I should say.
Yeah, the part of him having no character and, being dull is, I guess, plays a role in the upcoming... I'm trying to, not to say anything, but in the upcoming, episodes and chapters in the manga, it's acknowledged.
I mean, Fuuka's basically helping make him not dull. She's trying to give him character, sort of she makes him better, sort of thing, in my opinion. And we're only getting a small taste of that so far, and you'll get more later as his character develops. Without any specifics, just so I don't ruin anything.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. Now I feel like I have more information going forward. And, when I resume watching it, because this for me, the way I watched the first 4 episodes was I watched them all back to back, and it made it a lot easier for me to like really engage with it, because like I saw like the first episode, and then I waited, I finished watching the first episode. I was like, I wasn't totally sold on the idea of watching the show, and then the second episode was uploaded, and I just I saw it there, and I'm like, it didn't really feel like sitting down to watch it. And it wasn't until you guys sent me that message saying, hey, let's watch the 4 episodes of this. Like I didn't sit down and watch it, and I did. I went back and I rewatched the first episode, and I watched everything all together, and it was a better experience for me. So I think what I'm probably gonna do is I'll probably go in 4-week increments, and I'll continue watching it that way.
I think this might end up being a show that is better binged than watched weekly. So I could easily see that being the better way to go. Something I want to mention, though, since you said you have seen Suzuka, did you notice that they're connected?
Yeah, like through lines of dialogue. Like I went into Fuuka knowing that they were connected.
Okay.
But like there were a couple lines of dialogue that definitely stood out to me. Like, granted, I haven't seen Suzuka in like, honestly, I want to say it was like maybe 7 or 8 years, but it clearly stands out to me as one of the shows that I watched way back, and was different. Like, it was one of the first shows that I watched that wasn't like, all right, let me watch a seinen series, or let me watch a psychological series or an action series. It was one of the first like actual like shows that are, I guess, romantic comedies, because Suzuka did have its comedic elements. It was one of the first romantic comedies that wasn't like a big name romantic comedy that I sit down and watch.
Okay. Yeah, because
well, I think in episode 2 they actually explicitly say how it's connected.
Yeah, because of her dad, right?
Yeah.
Her parents is Suzuka and what's his name?
I figured.
Yeah, they actually go to a shop where she's on the phone with them. You get to see them, which was kind of cool in my opinion. To like, you never see that. Like, where here's the characters after the story ended. It's an interesting thing to see. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still going to continue it despite having this dumb elitist mindset that I'm going through right now, which I really got to get over. Because I love the manga so much.
I don't know where you're coming from with that personally. It's because I mean, it's not as detailed, I guess, as the manga is when it comes to the art, but overall they're doing really good.
But it is nice. It is nice to hear Fuuka, because her voice actress, whoever, I think Lynn, I think that's what it says on Wikipedia. I don't know who that is really, really good.
I'm more in it for the music right now.
Like, I really like.
Yeah, that's the mindset that I have. Is just like the music for me is what like once I heard it, it's a style of music that I can genuinely see myself sitting and listening to outside of the context of the show, and the fact that I have the connection with the characters, that they didn't just they started playing music right away. Like, it built up to the idea of like, all right, maybe we should start a band. Like, I feel like that connection and the fact that the music is good is really the driving force for me to sit down and watch the show.
Okay. So you guys want to move on to the next series then?
Okay.
Which is ACCA episodes 1, 2, and 3. I wasn't actually going to watch this until Ray put it on the list, because I think it was the animation style. It was kind of it had a rustic look to it. And I don't know, it just didn't seem like something I would be interested in. But as I was watching it, I actually got more into it as the episodes, as episode 2 and 3 came out. But I'm liking it, actually. It's a little bit, I wouldn't say slow, because it's still like building up. It's only the first 3 episodes, but I'm personally enjoying it.
The characters are definitely the driving force of this show. For me too, though, I would not have watched this show if I didn't see the trailer. Like, the poster for it does not do it any justice. I feel like it's so uninteresting looking at the poster for it. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool how they got the bird in the background and whatnot, but until you watch it, actually, I feel like it makes it look kind of bad. But yeah, watching the.
I think because it has that military style look to it. It's like, another military.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just boring. Like, it's mostly just red and white. But yeah, after watching the trailer, I knew I had to give it a chance. And the characters, like I said, are the driving force for this show for me. Like, they all intrigue me. They all interest me, and even the ones that, like, are kind of like don't like right now, or you don't know if you should like, you still like. So yeah, I'm really actually enjoying it, but I don't know. It's at the point where if it doesn't go well starting now, I feel like it could become really bad.
My experience with this show is I went into it blind. Like, I know that it's a MAPPA show, right?
Madhouse.
Madhouse, yeah. That was basically the same show.
Fair enough.
All right, so it's a Madhouse show. So the expectations are there. I didn't watch the trailer, though. So, like, I had no expectation in terms of, like, all right, is it going to be an action-heavy show? Is it going to be something that's dialogue-heavy and plot-driven? Is there going to be an emphasis on the characters? Is it going to be serious? I really had no context for anything. All I knew is that it was a show from a studio that I liked, and I wanted to watch it. So, the first episode, I didn't like at all. Like, there wasn't enough there in terms of a structure to really grip me. But I stuck with it. And it was after the first episode where we really started to see this idea of a coup d'etat happening. That's the point when my interest was sparked. And while I do take issue with how silly the show can be at times, like how things are in different districts, like the one place where, they grow giant food and now there's giant people, and there's that other guy that looks like Tintin, like that one guy that was following the main character. I think it was in episode 2. There's a short guy.
Yeah, okay.
He looked.
Oh yeah.
He looked like Tintin. Like, if you guys know who Tintin is, or the character that's heavily featured in Fallout. I forget his name. Like with the
the little bobblehead.
Yeah, that guy. About. It kind of looks like him too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of silly in its presentation, but there's that bit of political intrigue, and I'm kind of a sucker for that. So while I do take issue with lots of certain elements of the show, I'm willing to give it a shot because it's different. And I think that's something that we as a community don't do enough. We reinforce what are the whatever is currently airing or what we identify as anime, and we don't take enough of a chance on shows that may take a slightly different path. Like from last season, Funawamu is a show I champion, that is a show that I will constantly advocate for, and it's a show that definitely doesn't feel like conventional anime, but it is a show that I feel like if people that watched anime gave it a chance and were open to the idea of a show that didn't adhere to the tropes common in the medium, that they would find something that they enjoyed. And while I'm not saying that ACCA is this level or that same level of quality, I do think it's important to give these shows that deviate from the norm at least a modicum of attention. I think it's important to the medium as a whole, because it shows like this that help contribute to the overall creativity of the medium.
Speaking of that real quick, there's a reason for you to advocate Amazon Strike, because you can watch that on Amazon Strike now. It is
okay.
No, the Fune no wo Amu. That's how you pronounce it, right?
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's only on Amazon Strike now, if I'm not mistaken. So.
That's for everyone ever in the history of ever to go watch that show. It's one of the few shows in the past 5 years, I would say, is the safe bet to crack my top 10. The only other one I can think of that's cracked my top 10 is Hunter x Hunter.
Okay.
Which is great. I love Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, I was gonna watch that show and I haven't yet because I couldn't figure out where to watch it on Amazon. I kept hearing everyone say it was on Amazon, and now that Amazon Strike was announced, it's there. Like, it's easy enough to find now. But
yeah, if you're ever gonna demo the service, I highly recommend making that the show you watch.
all right.
It's slow, so I wouldn't say it's something that you can marathon, but like maybe 1 or 2 episodes a day, and I think within a few days you'll run through the show, and the music for the show is great too. Like I know this doesn't pertain to this season, but I feel it's important to say that it's the same composer that did the music for Kuroko no Basuke season 2 and 3.
Okay.
So it has that strong, really hype orchestral music and it's a show about making dictionaries, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
But if you take a look at it and realize that it's like that's just a framework for the narrative, that it's not really about that, and that this framework for the narrative is a reflection of the main character's character arc, I think you'll find that the show is amazing and worth watching.
Okay.
But yeah, Akka on the other hand is all right, and I'm okay with it. Sheena, what do you think about Akka?
I'm really liking, especially when they mention the coup d'etat part, because then you have all these characters that's already been introduced to you within like the first episode and a half, and you're like, okay, who is doing this coup d'etat? Who can the main character trust, and can you even trust our main character, kind of thing? Because people were suspecting he was part of the coup d'etat, and that kind of story where you don't know who is somebody you can trust is always interesting to me, because it gives a lot of depth to the characters, and even that really annoying the guy who's coming of age, he's gonna be like the next king or something. He's really annoying. I hope he doesn't stay, or he just isn't prominent in the story, although he probably will have a part in it. But even his character was interesting, because he mentioned about how he was gonna disband or something.
Disband?
Whatever. Disband. Yeah. Disband the 13 territories. But then when he comes out, he doesn't do it. And so there's this kind of it just little twist, even though it's not a big twist right now. Little twists like that within the series is always interesting, and how it plays out in the overall story. I like it right now where it is. So hopefully, like Ray said, I hope that from here on it gets better, because once it falls a little bit, it's gonna suck. And so I'm just hoping that it stays where it's at.
Am I the only person that thinks the main character looks a lot like Sanji from One Piece?
I could see that.
He's got that.
It's the blonde skinny guy that's smoking. I think that's what has me thinking Sanji, like every time I see him.
By the way, Lou, I think this might interest you. Do you know who the original creator of this show is?
I do not.
Natsume Ono, who did House of the Five Leaves.
Yeah. Huh.
So same mangaka.
Interesting. But this is a completely different style of setting, so...
Yeah. But I thought you might... Yeah. I figured that was worth mentioning to you, that might pique your interest a little more.
It does. It does. I haven't completed that. Like, I've read part of House of the Five Leaves, but I remember enjoying it. And now... Why'd you have to bring that up, man? I'll have to watch it now.
But am I wrong? Like, I don't think he was saying he's going to disband the 13 whatever countries, I guess, or whatever. I thought he was going to disband the organization that just oversees them.
Yeah. Okay. I was wrong. Yeah. No,
it was the whole thing with the oversight, like the actual guy's department is what was going to be disbanded.
Yeah, but he didn't mention it when he was, I guess, not really coronated, but like, the whole coming of age ceremony.
Because he wasn't. He thought he was going to be king right then and there.
Yeah, and then the king's like, nope. Probably knows what's up. He probably knows what's up. Probably knows what's going on.
I feel like the king's going to get killed by him or something like that. It seems, it might be an easy guess, but, they make him already not likable. They make the king, actually likable so far. So... Mm-hmm. When you make the current person in power likable, and then the next person in line not likable, usually somehow the king dies, and usually it's not through good means.
Mm-hmm. But then you have like the chief officers who,
Yeah.
you don't know who's what, and then his best friend, I think what's his name, Nino, the main character's best friend is also kind of spying on him. Yep. So it's kind of like
who's, by the way, is one of my favorite characters, because that's the one where I was talking about in particular, where it's like, you like him, but you don't know if you should like him. But you really like him, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the whole build-up for his character, where, they're like, oh, well, the main character was able to identify that you had someone tailing him, but he didn't notice me because he's never noticed me, ever. I've known him for 2 decades. And, like, if you listen to the dialogue carefully, the main character is like, oh, I've known you for 6 years. And he's like, well, I've known you for 13.
Yeah.
So obviously he's been observing the main character for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he's definitely one of my favorite characters, even though we don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy or, what he is really. But yeah, I hope this continues to be a good series, because it is interesting so far.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so let's go on to Konosuba Season 2, Episodes 1, 2, 3. The Crazy Antics is back with Konosuba, and I love it. Although I'm noticing, I know people mentioned it, but the art style is a little bit more crazier than Season 1, or maybe I'm just forgetting how Season 1 was. But
I think they just kind of embraced it more.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they've acknowledged that the fact that the show isn't polished at all is one of the main things that is, I guess, lends the show its charm. So, while I do appreciate, the change in animation style, I didn't find the first episode all that interesting. It wasn't until the second episode that I really had that realization of like, yeah, Konosuba's back. It's great. Mm-hmm. I really love the second episode.
Yeah, I can't fully agree with everybody on the fact that, like, because I feel like everybody dogged on the first episode a little too much. I was like, it's still a quality episode, but yeah, it wasn't up to Konosuba's usual standards. I could see that. Mm-hmm. But I was wondering if you were going to say that, so yeah. It was all right to me, though. You mentioned you didn't see episode 3 yet. Episode 3 is also really good, in my opinion.
Yeah, they actually showed off how good they can still do their animation in there.
Well, not just that, but like, it was pretty much just him and Aqua for that whole episode, and it was still very interesting because they work so well off each other as characters. Like, mm-hmm. I almost feel like I don't hate Aqua as much, actually, right now, which is surprising because a lot of people said she only gets worse. So people were saying that she was going to be more and more and more annoying as things went on with this show. And right now, I'm actually not hating her as much because she's playing off of Kazuma even better than last season. At least with episode 3, I felt like they were playing off each other really well.
Like, she's an effective foil for the main character. I still really dislike her, though. And honestly, I enjoy more the dynamic between Megumin and the main character.
I think everyone loves their dynamic, though, and it doesn't hurt that Megumin's character design is fucking adorable. So, mm-hmm. Well, yeah, more Konosuba's never a bad thing.
I think I'm the only person in the entire anime community who's watched this show that likes Aqua. I feel like.
Well, that's because you're a bitch.
Well, I like her. Okay, hold on. Let me backtrack a little bit. I like her for the reason that they like her. How they use her in the series, which is basically like they torture her. Basically, I mean, especially in season 1, they tortured her a lot. They put her in horrible situations because she's a bitch. I think I've mentioned this a lot of times, and that's probably like what I like about her is because, yeah, they show off how bad of a human being, not human being, but goddess or person she is, but they make up for it by like torturing her, and that's what makes it funny, and that's why I like having her around.
I like having her around, don't get me wrong, but she's not a good character, like as a person. I think that's most people's argument.
No, and to counter your point, Sheena, I would also argue that I think that argument would hold more water if the other characters weren't being punished as much as Aqua is. So, for example, the whole like they're battling the toads in was it the first or second episode? They're fighting off these toads, and both Aqua and Megumin are being digested by the toads too. It's not like Aqua was or it's not like Aqua had to endure additional suffering. I think the only exception to that in the first season that I can think of was that one time where she's in a cage and they submerge her in the lake. I think
That was a great moment.
It was
I
great,
love that
but I think
moment.
that was the only time where she really got shit on more than the rest of the cast.
I could see
Yeah.
that.
Well, I could see that too. But I mean, even with that frog thing, they used her as bait to let the frogs kind of like, while they're focusing on something else. But she was running away from the frogs to try to like get him somewhere. But I mean, yeah, I guess I could see where Megumin was also being tortured in that scene as well as that one other girl. I don't remember what her role was, but I think she was there to like accuse Kazuma of being with the Devil King or whatever.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're talking about the investigator
remember her
lady or
name.
whatever. But yeah, I can't
Yeah.
remember her either.
When they were both being swallowed up. That was a great scene, by the way. When they were like coming out of the frog's mouth and she's all coming out all hot, and then Aqua's like looking all derpy.
Well, I mean, it's Aqua. But yeah, one thing I don't like so far is that darkness has been like sort of just put to the wayside. Like I said, episode 3 was basically just Aqua and Kazuma. I'm hoping that there's some payoff to not having her around, because I do think their group dynamic is where they're strongest.
You want to know what I think would be
Bounce off each other.
the best payoff for Darkness's character is like, all right, you know how she's a total masochist, right?
Mm-hmm.
That when they finally go and they rescue her from this terrible situation that she's found herself in, that she flips character completely and turns into a sadist. I would love that shit. I think that would be brilliant as hell. Like, they're going to save her because they're like, oh no, she's getting molested by this old, creepy, disgusting guy. And, they show up to this castle to liberate her, and, the old, creepy, disgusting guy is in a gimp suit, and she's whooping his ass. I think that would be the best possible outcome for this show. And I don't think it's going to happen, but because Japan likes consistency in characters, but we can hope.
Yeah, I definitely don't know if that would happen, but it would be funny.
They did show a little bit of her in episode 3, but it was more of like a
a
silhouette of
10-second
her.
scene. Yeah, it's like, no! Don't.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the regular story. But
I liked. Oh wait, no, you haven't seen episode 3. But can I go ahead and mention something in episode 3?
go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the part with Megumin while she's waiting outside of the dungeon. There's like little bits of her.
Yeah.
And she's just like yelling. I don't know. Those were adorable little scenes.
Well, that's 'cause
like,
it's
just watching her
Megumin.
wait.
Like,
Yeah.
everybody loves Megumin. Like, she was Winter's version of Rem. Like, from last year, and I think she is again this year going to be like a resurgence of her. Everyone loves Megumin. There's no arguing this.
What do you think of her rival character? Her rivals. The character of her rival.
I like her. She's got a nice character design too. I think if they bounce off each other well in the future, it'll be a good additional character. Although I do find it weird that they had her in season 1's opening and then never had her in the show until an OVA.
Oh, that's right. Huh?
Which they basically put in episode 1 or 2 where she was introduced. They basically put like half of the OVA in there. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought that was really odd.
Yeah.
That's just
Well,
me nitpicking.
I'm just happy that there's more Konosuba.
Yeah.
I think
Because
I'm like
we
the
need more
only
of that.
person in this community that hasn't seen that OVA. I really need to get around to fixing that so I can have a little bit more context into what the hell is going on.
It was just like the introduction of what's her name again? I can't remember her name.
The
Rival.
not just her, but also it did a little more building with that one chick that owns the shop that
Wiz?
they're in. Yeah.
Yeah. The one that's the undead or former thing. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's necessary to watch, but it's definitely it's more Konosuba. You can't lose. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I just found out that Yui Horie is the voice actress for Wiz, and I love her. I have her autograph.
weeb.
What? You know what? I trampled over other weebs to get that autograph.
Which is
so-
surprising considering how tiny you are.
Okay, it was more like It was more like we had to run to the exhibit hall from the West Hall to get in line to get the autograph. And I actually manipulated 2 guys to save me a spot in line.
Oh, nice.
Boom. I win.
I'll give you a hint. It wasn't using her sexual appeal.
No. Nope. I don't know what I did. But anyways, moving on. Let's go ahead and talk about the last series that we have on the list, which is interviews with Monster Girls, episodes 1, 2, and 3.
AKA the best show on the list. I fucking love this show.
I think it might be my favorite of the season.
It's pretty up there for me. Like, I wouldn't say it tops Little Witch for me. I wouldn't say, like, maybe it's on the level with the Maid Dragon show, but it's definitely the most heartwarming thing in forever. And I love Demi-chan. It's so good.
I do. I like it. You know, originally I wasn't going to watch it, but Ray said it's really good, so I watched it, and it's really good.
Yeah, actually thinking about it now, she might be the only person that can compete with Megumin this season, in my opinion. I haven't seen Maid Dragon, but those are 2 strong, waifu rivals there for waifu of the season.
Just saying, there's a lot of reaction faces in both Konosuba and in Monster Girls, and I love taking screenshots of it, especially Hikari's reactions, her face reactions. They're pretty awesome and cute. I love her.
I love the succubus. Like, succubus is the best girl, and I'll fight anyone. She's so adorable. Like, she lives out in the middle of nowhere, and she just wants to fall in love, and she gets all excited, you know, when she has an encounter with a guy that doesn't like show like a crazy overt sexual reaction. And then, you know, like, then there's that whole 10-minute build to this great joke of, you know, like, oh, you know, like, she needs to be careful if she can't come into contact with the guy because they'll lose their shit. And she finally does, and there's no reaction. And then he's like, the second he's out of her sight, you know, he's done playing it cool, and it's just, he's overwhelmed by sexual desire. And that is the most real life thing in the history of anime.
Yep.
That episode was like, if you really think about it, was so slow, but it did not matter because it was so good, like, and just done properly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though they're showing the same thing over and over again in some of the parts, like, you don't care because they just do it well. I don't know what the magic is with that, because I've seen shows try to do that and fail miserably. And this is just another one of those ones that pulls it off, and I think it has to do with loving the characters as much as everyone does. Like, there's not a bad character in the show yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely the characters that make, you know, like I guess this is kind of like a slice of life, right?
Yeah.
In a way, because he's because the main teacher, he wants to know the daily life of how monster girls live in the world, and that's kind of like it is a slice of life. So we kind of, you know, and the character, like you said, I like the teacher, the succubus, you know, she wants to fall in love like any other human being, but she can't, and the irony of it is because she's a succubus, she can make anybody fall in love with her, but she wants that like true love kind of thing. And that's kind of like what makes her character, and not just her, but all the other characters interesting and just, I wouldn't say relatable, but you can kind of like put yourself in their shoe because of how they present them.
I like how they all don't want people to like try to step around what's different about them. They want people to embrace it, and, you know, so they have something to talk about because they're not normal, you know? Like that whole part with her being a Doulahan, and that's episode 2, right?
Yeah.
Like that, I thought that episode, that's what made it good. Like, was that sort of realization, which you didn't need them to blatantly say because they sort of just, you know, gave it to you as well throughout the episode.
Like, I think what's interesting about that whole dynamic is that the characters are advocating not for special treatment. What the characters want is they don't want that aspect of them to be ignored, because that's how they treat these characters. They're like, all right, well, you know, they completely overlook the fact that she's a Doulahan. right? You know, they're just like, all right, we don't want to be racist. We don't want to trigger anyone, so we're not gonna acknowledge the fact that she's a Dullahan. When fact of the matter is, it is a part of who she is. You know, while being a Dullahan does not define her, she is a Dullahan, and she acknowledges that. You know, she wishes that they wouldn't shy away from the fact that she is a Dullahan. You know, this kind of reminds me. There's a visual novel that it reminds me of that involves girls with disabilities.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking
called?
about, with the girl with
Yes, I
burnt
played that one.
face
Yes.
and...
Okay, that was really good, actually. I
So,
don't remember the name of it, but yeah.
Ka something shoujo?
God, no, stop it. You're getting it in my head now. I'm not going to stop until I know what it is.
All right. Anyways, so, you know, I like how it handles that, and it does the whole, like, you know, it kind of draws I guess you could draw parallels between this show and how people with disabilities are forced to live their lives, where you could draw the parallel with the succubus having maybe a type of paranoia / social anxiety, and it's interesting to see how this main character, which is kind of serving as a counselor but not really a counselor, how having that type of person interact with these people, how that benefits these people that have their these aspects to their character.
Mm-hmm.
I might even say it's a little bit of a social commentary, based on how you interpret.
Yeah, I think
we can't ignore somebody's, you know, if it's a disability or a special characteristic about them. We can't ignore what they are, but we can still treat them normally, without having to be, you know, having to give them the special treatment, you know, because that's what they want. They want people to just accept them for being, you know, demi-humans. But they don't want them to, like, fear them or treat them special or anything. They just want to accept that exists as part of as who they are.
Yeah, and I like how the show opens up with the whole concept of, yeah, we know that this is a thing that's in the world, and, you know, it's normal. Like, we're not freaking out about the idea that there are demi-humans in the world, because, you know, the government supplies blood to the vampires. They, like, you know, we know all these people, these different types of demi-humans that exist. Now, the one thing that I will present as a gripe for this is the fact that the main character has never encountered a demi-human until he meets all these monster girls at once, which, considering how normalized the concept of demi-humans are, you would think he would have at least encountered one.
He's probably never actually spoken to... I mean, he's probably spoken to one, but he's never actually, like, sat down with one and talked to them about what it's like to being a demi-human. Although he did say that he's never met one, but, you know, you could be talking to anybody that could have been a demi-human, but never actually acknowledged the fact that they were a demi-human.
Yeah, it depends on the, how... I mean, I don't know, because the only one that really stands out is a Dullahan. Like, the other three look normal enough. Like, you wouldn't know if you walked by them in the street, sort of thing, if that they were a demi-human, you know? She's all, you know, unless she smiles at you and you see her teeth and you question that, or succubus. It's kind of weird that she won't touch me, but okay. You know, the Snowwoman, like, until you touch her and see how cold she is, like, how does she look any different, you know? Mm-hmm. I could see an excuse there. By the way, it's called Katawas Shoujo, so yes, I am on the website right now.
Katawa Shoujo or something like that.
Katawa, yeah.
Yeah.
I need to play this again now. Okay. Anyways.
Also, the Dullahan, she puts her head in a little doghouse.
Yeah, that was adorable.
When she goes to sleep. Oh my god, that was so cute.
Oh, I love how one of the rationales for her loving or being in love with the teacher is the fact that he has really, like, strong arms, and it's more like she just wants to be protected when he's carrying her head around.
Yeah,
that was adorable and hilarious.
And then they had that one scene where he's, like, flexing.
Yeah. No, but it's also like, you know, she's having the conversation with the succubus, and she's like, "Oh, I think he's great," and she's like, "Yeah, you know, he's sweet, and yeah, and he has great arms." And the succubus, you can, like, there's a change in her expression where you can tell that, yeah, that definitely got her, and she's like, "Yeah."
You just gotta
like,
how,
I swear, like,
it is.
Like, I swear, I started doing curls the second I saw that. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna start lifting. Let's go.
She lifts, obviously, in her mind. I don't know. Well, she's the only one that's, like, had a part of her carried. out of all the characters, as far as
I guess.
So, she knows more about his arms than anyone else.
I like
does.
the fact that it's one of those small things. Like, it's something that everybody would think of. Like, whenever you see somebody and you're attracted to them in any sort of way, there's always those small little things that, like, attract you to them more so than, like, the blatantly obvious, like, they don't have an ugly face. And the fact that they both got stuck on his arms was kind of, like, cute and also hilarious.
Well, you know, in the how they animated him in his design, he really does. I mean, I noticed it too when I was, like, looking at it. Like, wow, he's got, like, nice arms. I see where she's coming from. I looked at the character.
I'd start lifting, I guess.
They defined that like muscle too in his design. I'm not crazy.
No, you're not.
Even the Dualahan sees it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like hidden under the lab coat.
He's designed to be like a sort of father figure, but he's also young, so like he's kind of like this in between. That's where I think his character design comes from, and it does fit perfectly with what they're doing.
I just kind of hope there's no like romance thing involved in this.
Are you telling me you don't want him to get with the succubus now?
I mean, that's fine. I'm just not into the whole like teacher student thing.
Yeah, that would be odd, but I don't know. It's Japan, Sheena.
I mean,
it's
I know,
Japan.
like we were talking about how the age of consent in Japan is 16. So if they were like 17-year-old high schoolers, technically it wouldn't make a difference unless the teacher.
Well, I mean,
I don't want to do.
I mean, legality doesn't equate to morally acceptable or ethical. So, I personally don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I want him to. I want him to bang
either.
the succubus.
There you go. That's where I was too.
I'm okay with that.
Like that's what
that's what
she's biologically constructed for. Like, she's supposed to be the hot girl that is really good at those types of things. I mean, just look at the succubus, how they're handled in Konosuba, to call back to the other show for the previous season. How they're just like, yeah, they make a business out of it, and it's all about sex and seduction. And this girl is a succubus that doesn't do any of those things. So I want to see her in that mindset. So please, Japan, make it happen. This would make Demi-chan a 10 out of 10.
I'm sure if you go to like some Comic-Con, there is a circle out there that already has this
Probably.
out. I wouldn't put it past Japan to like already have that out there. I have faith in you, Japan. That's what I'm saying.
Overall, it's definitely one of my favorite shows of the season, though possibly the favorite for me. So, and that's something I want to bring up real quick before we move on to anything else. Is this season's like a lot better than I feel like people were giving it credit for earlier on. It happens a lot, I think, but like once again, like Winter, I feel like is surprising everybody with the quality of the shows.
I think in terms of like the balance of the shows, I would say there are a lot of, or not a lot. There are some really really great shows, and then there's a fair amount of mediocrity, but not a lot of, I would say, outright bad shows. I think what's happening right now in the industry is what is the standard of anime as a whole is slightly improving, which is why like we're not seeing a huge gap of between what would be considered an average show and what would be considered a good show. Like maybe that's just my perspective, which more likely than not, it's probably completely unfounded. I own that, but at least I will also own that that's how I see things as they are. I see that the average quality of anime is improving. So yeah, I would say that this season is undervalued. I will agree with that side. With that side of your perspective, Ray.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with it because there are a lot of shows that come out that doesn't get a lot of spotlight, and they're normally really really bad. I mean, we haven't had the season, but I mean, actually, I don't know, but those Magical School series, I think there might be one, but the Magical School series are always pretty bad.
There's one
in my opinion.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some ass out there this season, right? Like, there's a second season to rewrite. I have not heard a single good thing about the first season, so that's surprising. I heard Spirit Pact is horrible. Super Lovers Season 2 doesn't need to exist. What's something else? Chaos Child. Very questionable. I need to give it a chance, but probably not good. Handshakers is apparently god-awful. I mean, there's some bad stuff out there, but there's always going to be. I feel like people give Winter a worse rap, especially this season, because there's not a lot of shows in general this season, but the ones that looked like they could have potential, all of them actually are pretty much living up to what everyone wanted, I feel like. And because of that, there's enough shows like to get by. Like, this season isn't overwhelming, and I like that about it, but what is there is quality, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, so that's pretty much what we have for our series discussion. Did you guys want to do a little discussion on the anime awards?
I mean, we can keep it brief. I have one I guess strong thought about the anime awards, and it's kind of the same thought that I have about award shows in general. They're all bullshit because ultimately what a group of individuals believes doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is how I feel about a show. And I think I was pretty vocal in my my issues with Yuri on Ice. I am not a fan. I thought it was a show that was important. It had an important idea to it, but I thought it was poorly executed in terms of its construction of its narrative and its visual presentation. Basically everything except for music was pretty lackluster for Yuri on Ice. And I feel like what ends up happening is you create a false perception in the eyes of people that haven't experienced anime by allowing basically a popular vote to dictate what is to get the spotlight. But again, like, even if we had like the most revered reviewers on a panel nominating and suggesting their shows, people that I respect, that would typically, account for their opinion, like the idea of revering these shows, it bothers me because I feel like I should be the person that decides whether I think a show is the best animated show. I don't want other people telling me what they think is the best animated show when it's not necessarily an educated group of people. You get me? Like how much anime have these people consumed?
Especially, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, is there people voting? Are they people who have seen all of the shows that's on? Let's say that these are only Crunchyroll shows. I don't really know, but are these like most of them are Crunchyroll?
Cabaneri was on there quite a bit.
The people voting and
mostly all Crunchyroll.
Okay, like the people voting and the people nominating these shows, have they seen every single anime that's like on Crunchyroll or in that year kind of thing, and how much have they consumed?
That's why I didn't vote for certain things,
which is really hard to.
If I didn't see something, I can't tell what's the best. Like, so I didn't vote on those things.
Like,
yeah.
To give the popular comparison or parallel, you look at the Academy Awards and you look at the fact that Your Name didn't receive a nomination. I'm not saying an award. I'm talking specifically a nomination. More likely than not, because they don't. The Academy doesn't really care about any director not named Miyazaki. I think that's the same issue applies where if something didn't get a lot of spotlight, it's not gonna get any spotlight from the people that are distributing it. They'll focus on what draws money, and I think that's what the Anime Awards ended up being, is just a massive promotional piece for Yuri on Ice.
See, here's part of my question that I was going to ask earlier before my mic cut out doing the thing before the show. My big question is, do you think Yuri on Ice would have done as well in the voting if it came out in winter 2016?
No, not at all, because people watch less anime.
Well, not only that, but I was thinking
and it was in the beginning of the year.
I think that's why Mob
it's a
Psycho
very
didn't
forgettable
win
anime.
Best Animation. I think it was a summer, but still, if it came out in fall, I think people would have had to admit, like, okay, yeah, no, this is better animated. Like, I haven't seen either of the shows to the completion. It's so obvious, though, that Mob Psycho is better animated. Like, that's one of those things that, like, it's not even fully opinion. It's kind of a lot of it's objective.
I would say that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say
I would totally concur with that. I would even go as far as saying parts of To Be Hero, which is a little Chinese cartoon that was a short. They ran for what, like 12 or 13 episodes. A Chinese show. I would say the last 2 episodes had significantly better animation than parts of Yuri on Ice. And I mean some of the revered parts. I don't mean just like, random slice of life bits. I mean some of the choreographed skating sequences look worse than this first or second show from this Chinese production studio that produced a show that was licensed by Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I mean, I'm currently editing a video surrounding Yuri on Ice right now, and I have to go scene by scene to find a scene that I need. And I mean, I think if you follow me on Twitter, you've seen my like tweets of like screenshots that I have from Yuri on Ice, and just how horrible the ice skating scenes were. It's kind of sad because this is an anime about ice skating, and ice skating is supposed to be a really beautiful thing, and it's just like really hard to watch and find scenes of ice skating when they're all just horrible, like horribly animated. And it's
I do feel like
just
the show got
sad.
blown out of proportion, and it makes me want to watch it less at this point, because I wanted to give it a chance, because I did think it was interesting that it was doing something different with, like, their whole relationship. And I never really got into the ice skating part of it, but I figured I can look past that and try to see these characters' stories more so than ice skating, right? Now, like, that's like been blown to such high proportions, and I know it will never meet up to the standards that people are giving it. It makes me not want to watch it, because I'm not going to be satisfied no matter what now.
Yeah, and the romance of it reminds me of a really bad shoujo romance. So, I mean, if you read a lot of shoujo and like a lot of romantic shoujo, there's some really, really bad, unrealistic, where everyone just like falls in love and then they all get married happily ever after. Like that's pretty much what this is, the romance.
It wouldn't surprise me if there's a continuation if one of the dudes gets knocked up. Not even joking, because that is a trope that you see in doujinshi of that genre.
Jeez.
Yeah.
But looking forward to the future, if there's more anime awards, do you think in the future anime YouTubers could maybe sway the polls potentially with their reviews on certain shows? Do you think that could come into play later on? Because I feel like if you look at gaming, for example, when people look at gaming awards and stuff like that, they decide if the awards shows had any validity to their opinions based on what a lot of popular YouTubers and stuff like that say nowadays, because nobody cares what fucking IGN says anymore. Everyone cares about what the YouTubers say.
Yeah, I mean, they award... Call of Duty has been awarded a lot, and everyone knows Call of Duty sucks for a lot of reviewers. Even Call of Duty players think it sucks. And so when, let's say, they have the video game awards and Call of Duty wins, well, we all know the validity of that is, not there, because everyone says it sucks, even though
we were always fans of Call of Duty, and we never thought it deserved like a lot of the awards it got. But I mean, I'm just curious if that will come into play later, because the anime community is still small enough that I feel like somebody would abuse that power.
I mean, there have been instances in our community where, and I think it's like really noticeable when it happens, where one person that has a bigger soapbox than the people around them starts voicing one opinion, and then everyone just starts parroting that opinion without giving it any thought. And I think that's a problem that this community has gradually grown out of, to a certain extent, but it's still something that we deal with. So that's my concern, is ultimately, one voice is going to dictate where anime goes from here, and it's worrying, which is why I fucking hate award shows, which is why I believe that people need to think more critically about the shows they consume, and why they need to why they need to watch just more anime, consume more, so you can be more informed.
Yeah, that's a good point. I still don't hate award shows, but that's just because I find it interesting to see what the popular opinion is for a fact, because I could tell that Yuri on Ice was popular. I couldn't tell it was that fucking popular until those like results came in, and I was like, dear God, like,
bro, that show broke Tumblr.
Oh, it's
I don't go on Tumblr.
yeah. An ice skater and a real life ice skater did a pose from Yuri on
Yes,
Ice.
you
That's
showed me
how
that, yeah.
popular. I mean, that's how like it broke. That's how it broke out of just the anime community and kind of more out into, I guess, quote unquote, the real world. So, which is kind of interesting. I kind of like that. That was one thing that I I'll give them thumbs up for, was that it really brought in a lot of people outside of the anime community into the anime, kind of introduced them, kind of like Sword Art Online in a way. And it's always like kind of like the more mediocre mediocre shows that do this, but more fans the better.
So what you're saying
opinion.
is Yuri on Ice is actually the next season of Attack on Titan, and we just didn't know.
Yes.
Yes.
The sync was perfect.
I mean, he was like, well, Victor was naked in one scene, so, or a couple scenes,
There's a lot of man ass.
Never mind.
I think I've seen more man ass in those tweets than I've ever seen in real life. I haven't been in enough locker rooms to see that much man ass. I've seen quite a bit, not that much.
Well, okay, so since they haven't released the anime of the year as of recording, because right now we're recording January 26th, and they're supposed to release it on January 28th.
Congratulations, Yuri on Ice.
What? Just calling it right now. But what is, based on their nomination, what would be your anime?
What were they again?
What would you
Yeah, I
vote
don't
for? What
remember.
did you vote for? Erased,
Oh, God.
Joker Game, Cabaneri, Mob Psycho, My Hero Academia, ReZero, Rakugo,
Mob
and
Psycho.
Yuri on Ice.
I haven't seen Mob Psycho, but I'd probably have to say it even then, because I've seen enough clips of it to know it's gotta be good. Otherwise, for me, it would probably be Hero, just because I know I love ReZero, but it's not. I don't know. It's not anime of the year sort of material in my mind.
Oh, okay. Oh, mine would be Rakugo.
I haven't finished
think
that one. I
was
could see
mine.
that being
my
easily
vote.
the case too. But we
Yeah,
all know
same.
Yuri on Ice.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, I didn't finish Yuri on Ice. I didn't finish Mob Psycho. Those are, I think, the only two that I didn't actually finish. I mean, I haven't seen much of Mob Psycho, so maybe it's really
It really
good.
like
I don't know.
ramps up after episode 6. Like it's good. I would say
Really?
it's good up until episode 6, and then after that is where it transcends just being good and goes to just absolute greatness. I love Mob Psycho 100.
Okay, yeah, I haven't gotten that far.
It did come out
I
in
think I got
summer,
to
right?
episode 2.
Yeah.
And then I
yeah. See, I
Like
always have
it
issues with
premiered
summer
it premiered at AX.
get it.
Yeah.
Like I was there. It was fun. I loved it.
I have issues with summer shows every time, and it's always because of AX. Because then I'm like 3 or 4 weeks behind sometimes, because by the time I get back to, my home, like where I can watch most of this stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm only going to watch what I really care about now. And for me, Mob Psycho wasn't high enough on the list at the time. It's on there now, like it's on my, I have a folder of like shows I need to watch soon. Like I need to, like right now, Sound Euphonium Season 2 is on the top of that list. But yeah, summer, I hate summer so much. Just because I never watch enough shows that season.
Yeah, same here. But yeah, mine would be Rakugo. It was definitely different.
Have you been watching season
a lot
2?
different anime than a lot of these seen.
Rakugo.
Of what?
Yeah.
Oh, Rakugo? No, I haven't. I like to watch 2 episodes at a
okay.
time. That's what I did with the first season. I kind of like.
I said okay.
Huh?
Yeah, I didn't know if you were watching it even. You never talk about it.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't.
Okay.
I have it on my queue. So, yeah, I like to kind of. I mean, it's not a show to binge. Definitely, it's kind of like you take 2 at a time. It's slow, kind of like the one that you're talking about.
Yeah, a lot of people draw parallels to both of those shows, which is kind of the reason why I want to go back and watch Rakugo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, It's really good. But yeah, I think that's everything that we have. So, Lou, why don't you go ahead and plug
you can
yourself?
find me at LouTalksAnime basically everywhere. Please join me on my crusade to shit post about this weeb garbage that we all enjoy. It's been a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for having me on. I always love coming on. Feel free to invite me whenever so we can bullshit about seasonal anime.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening, and we will see you all next time.
Laters.
Bye.
Bye.